And if you can take me back to the beginning, when you first met up with Peter Morgan and he kind of pitched you this story, what attracted you to this?
I immediately thought it was a movie that I wanted to see. I thought it would be fresh, original. I knew that it could work cinematically on a very intense way. It could transport an audience into something that was demanded to be seen on the big screen because it was so, sort of cool and alive and visceral. By the same token, I just believed that these characters would entertain us and surprise us and move us in ways that would be compelling and the kind of thing that I would want to see. And if I had a chance to direct it, the kind of thing I'd want to work on.
Okay, cool. So, it is a very visceral movie. One of the things I saw it on Friday, one of the things that impressed me was that not only was there this action stuff, but there's a lot of quieter drama and all that. So, could you talk about the balancing act of,
Well, there's no good guy or bad guy in this movie, and that was something that some of my sort of friends in Hollywood, who I asked to read the script as a favor, just to give me some comments, they feared that for me a little bit, but I felt like it was a sort of a survival story, and ultimately what we had to really offer was some understanding as to what makes these guys tick. Of course there's a rivalry, but what creates the burning need to try to be a champion in this way, to express yourself in a way that could possibly get you killed? And I think the answers were kind of surprising, but they were very, very personal. So yes, we wanted the intensity of the racing. Yes, we wanted the recklessness and the outrageousness of the 70s to be reflected, but we did need those quiet moments. It's where the relationships with the women in their lives were, of course, so important, because that's a place where these men, would drop the mask, and we could gain some additional insights.
Okay, great. And I was wondering if you could speak a tiny bit about the involvement with Niki Lauda, if he's seen the film, I'm sure it was important for you for him to be happy.
Well, early on, I flew to Vienna with Peter Morgan and met Niki Lauda. Peter already had a relationship with him and had already written the script. And while Niki had no editorial controls, nothing formal, of course it was very useful and helpful to have him sort of sanctioning what we were doing. It was fascinating because I realized immediately that something that wasn't apparent in the script, even though the language was great and written in a way that sounded very much like Niki Lauda, I didn't understand the humor of the man. I didn't understand the wit, this sort of dry, sometimes really hilarious delivery that he had. So I came away from that meeting, really excited and believing the movie could entertain us all in a number of ways. When he finally saw the movie, he was very thrown by it at first, because he's the kind of forward-thinking guy that doesn't really want to look over his shoulder, and particularly at some of the really intense things, this accident that he came back from that scarred him, and I think it threw him. Now he's seen the movie another couple of times, and he really loves it, and appreciates the authenticity, thinks we've captured the spirit of his life, his relationship with James, the world around him, in truthful ways, and so it's very gratifying. Last but not least, he developed a great relationship with Daniel Bruhl, who was going to play him, and Niki's a very challenging character to try to recreate, a little bit like what Jim Lovell did for Tom Hanks when we were making Apollo 13 and preparing to shoot that movie. Ultimately, Niki Lauda was able to do for Daniel Bruhl, and I think that gave Daniel not only a lot of access and insight, but a lot of confidence too.
Excellent. Thank you so much for your time.
You bet.